no radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Welcome back to Horror of the Worlds. I'm the good, the bad, the Stephen Miller.
And I'm the other Curtis Gerhardt. So we are talking, if you haven't already figured out, about Western horror movies. This is one that is kind of overlooked, I almost feel like.
I don't feel like there's enough of them. I feel like, at least currently.
Yes. I feel like after the whole big boom of Western horror movies, they started becoming more sporadic. You get one or two good ones every decade.
Yeah.
So I guess like a quick background on, so Westerns have been around for many, many years. It was like one of the first movies that were made too as well from Edison Studios. I'm not too sure if you remember me talking about that in one of our earlier episodes, possibly episode 2 or 3. So go back and watch those. But this was in the New Jersey studios called not the New Jersey Studios was named this, but this was the name of the movie, Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show.
Nice.
So
that's perfect.
Westerns were already becoming a movie staple early on, and I think this was like 1896 or something like that. But I feel like Westerns is always Westerns, the West Coast, because that's the whole thing.
It's a great expansion trying to come out here.
It was one of the last frontiers. Yes, outer space is the final frontier, but the West is the last frontier that we had, because everyone came over to the States, North America. All the people that were sane stayed on the East Coast, and all the freaking maniacs just went out west.
Battled their way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you had the Gold Rush, which that has a lot to. I always think of Gold Rush when I think of Westerns, because it was always that 1840s to the 1890s, where it had a big boom in California and all up the West Coast.
Those are some of my favorite characters in those movies, is the crazy ass 49ers and shit.
Yes. You always have that old man, stuff like the missing tooth and stuff, just panning gold, the one that's just hopped up on rum or freaking just like whiskey. Always having a gold dust flakes.
Yeah, the sun does shit to your brain, man.
Well, being out there
fried,
panhandling.
yeah.
I mean, in California, crazies, so all those crazies went to California and they went south to Florida. So if you liked money, you went to California. If you like drugs, you go to Florida.
Sounds right.
That's why it's a nutsack of fucking the USA. I don't know if we have any viewers out there in Florida. Our analytics don't show that much. Because I know a lot of these Westerns, they actually started making more books of Westerns. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll cut this out, so you probably won't see this, because I'll fact check this real quick. If it was like one of actually Hitler's favorite books to read as well. Just a weird random tidbit.
All right. I heard something about that, and I want to say it was another leader that enjoyed them, but it might have been Hitler.
Like he loved cowboys.
He definitely did. I'm pretty sure it was him that did. And those are kind of some of my favorites. It's not the old school Western ones, but one of my favorite companies, Death Head Press, they actually make a lot of splatter Westerns in particular.
All right.
So they kind of focus on that kind of stuff. I thought it was pretty cool.
No, that's the thing. Like those books are always actually pretty fascinating. That's the thing. I have a weird relationship when it comes to like Western movies. Is I love them, but I don't watch them.
Oh,
like I love the feeling. I love the looks. I love the ghost towns. I love that desert cabin look.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I love that era a little bit. Not the whole you're gonna die with any sneeze, but just
yeah.
But at the same time, with Westerns, like they had a big boom in the 1940s and the 1960s, and they had some big names that came out, which I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with John the Duke Wayne. Everyone knows him.
Yeah.
And,
oh, fuck.
I know there are other famous actors that are in Westerns that people know, like, oh, such and such. But I feel like there's a few that have reached beyond that. And I do think Clint Eastwood is one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
But same thing. Someone says Clint Eastwood, I think Westerns.
Well, that's because of certain movies, I feel that way about certain people. And because of Tombstone, I feel that way about Kurt Russell in particular. Val Kilmer, too, because, I mean...
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he was the best Doc Holliday presentation I've ever seen.
I have yet to watch Tombstone. It keeps on popping up on my list.
No, you need to see that one.
That's one thing. Like that movie is burned in my mind because I remember seeing that on VHS as a kid, and it's like that was like my dad's movie.
Oh,
I still remember that slipcase, that slipcover of it. Good times.
It's perfect. Yeah,
I need to watch it. With that, with westerns being such a huge thing at the time, of course they're going to have to mix eventually horror with westerns.
Oh yeah.
Granted, yes, there are horror westerns that came out before this one, but this is one of the ones that actually kind of caught my attention because of how good this one is. So, I'm talking about Curse of the Undead that came out in 1959. Overview is Malady, M-A-L-A-D-Y. Haven't seen that word. is claiming the lives of young women in a western town where a sinister gunslinger for hire called Drake Robbie, who is really a vampire, lives. All right, I made that sound really fucking weird. But Drake Robbie, who is really a vampire, lives. It is up to the preacher Dan to save the town and Dolores Carter. I didn't realize, because I just watched this. I just clicked on it. I was like, all right, the undead. It might be zombies or something, like some kind of thing, until they don't, like, I wonder if it's vampires. Because I didn't read the overview for this movie. And it is vampires and that good old classic crappy westerns I always kind of think of. Like the westerns I'm not a huge fan of, because I like the more Clint Eastwood kind of ones. This was more was it Gunslinger, Matlock, the paint by numbers kind of western.
Yeah, all right.
Very basic. Oh, woman's in trouble, she's angry, and then we got to go to the freaking bar. Oh, this happened.
I'm surprised they went with a vampire, because with the whole grave robbing, Curse of the Dead kind of thing, the dead man's curse, you'd go with zombies, in my opinion. I mean, well,
I don't think zombies weren't really a thing in the 59, right. So I kind of give it that benefit of the doubt. But when you go with undead, I don't think vampires instantly. All right. But we're living in 2025 where zombie movies are a dime a dozen, you know what I mean? So
right.
So the whole basic thing is guy kills sheriff, daughter hires Duke, like so you know the vampire is a bad guy because he has the John Wayne walk, that whole arm over
just got off the horse walking all wide and shit.
Like, mind you, he wasn't built like the Duke, but he was like a skinny like scruffy guy. But yeah, daughter hires a vampire for hire. Priest talks her out of it, and it's just, that's the whole thing. And she rehires, but it is a paint by the numbers horror movie, period. Even for that time frame, if it was basic western, basic horror, like, oh, let's just add a vampire to this,
right?
But they actually did it okay. They actually did the whole lore of it had to be a special dagger to actually kill them in the chest, and they went to the it wasn't so much a cemetery, it was a mausoleum, to actually unbury this guy's name. And it's like, oh, there's a dagger in the coffin, he's not there.
All right, so they stuck with a lore and some kind of stereotypes towards vampires.
Extremely
like that.
Well. Like, I give it, that's why I say it's good in that sense, because it didn't make me like, oh, this isn't a vampire. It's like, all right, they actually did a little bit of homework on what a vampire was for that time frame. And one of the funniest things that made me laugh out loud, which was the same mausoleum scene, so it's midway, almost near the end, Dolores and the priest went in to actually try to find the vampire that was sleeping in the coffin, and the priest ends up leaving, and all of a sudden Dolores just faints to the ground, fucking nowhere. And it was just that typical woman in these movies.
Lack of oxygen in the room. Yeah. Boom.
And then he comes out of the coffin and goes and feeds, and it's just like, all right, nothing surprising there. But with it being so basic, and
I think that's probably why I like older movies as well as horror movies. There's a certain amount of cheese, in my opinion, that's acceptable with the acting and shit like that. And back then, it's like they didn't know better. And today, we know better and we do it on purpose.
Funny that you say cheese, because I watched this on Tubi, and the person or the company, because the company that ended up remastering it or trying to find the best make of it, best copy of it, was Cheesy Films.
That's awesome.
So you kind of almost said it there, but yeah, I do like old movies because I wasn't around that time frame, and it's like, what are they going to do? Always like that kind of suspense. Compared to nowadays, like, oh, use a phone. Now you have to find a new way why the phone doesn't work. You know, you have no service or the phone broke or something like that. Then I'm like, I don't know how are they going to get out of this.
Right.
So with Curse of the Undead, I feel like there was this movie that remade this movie. And when it was out in theaters a couple years back, quite a few years back, I think this was like 2019 or 2020 when this came out. And it was laughed out of the theaters. Like, people left because of how horrendous this movie was. And I don't know if you remember seeing any of these headlines, but I was following this movie pretty closely because of Erotica, which is, if you guys know that name, Glenn Danzig's new movie that was a vampire western, something that you, at the time, like he was saying, never had been done. I was like, all right, you know, I didn't know a lot, so I was like, all right, probably hasn't been done. But then I didn't really think of all the other vampire western movies.
Yeah, because they're abundant.
There's actually quite a few.
I mean,
like,
they
really
seem to
shocked.
always pick the vampires.
Which I don't understand why. But I am talking about Death Rider and the House of Vampires. That is a mouthful of a fucking title and tells you how great this movie actually is.
I feel like there was more effort in the title than anything else. I do like the actors that were in it.
Yes, this is a star-studded cast. I freaking love almost
every one of them.
people.
Yeah, it's not just the names in movies. I mean, like horror names all over the fucking
Like
place.
Danny Trejo, but he's been in every fucking thing. You have Devon Sawa, which is Death Rider, which I'll watch any movie with him in it. I don't really care if it's this movie or actually a good movie. You know, like even Eli Roth.
I love Eli Roth, and I feel like he was the best part of this damn movie. I think it's because he was absolutely haywire, and that's kind of like his thing, I feel like, in every movie.
I feel like we were just talking about Eli Roth on the last episode, or
yeah,
personally
very
stuff.
recently.
Like, he is a phenomenal actor and director, like writer. He's good at everything, and he is overacting in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like he nailed the character. I mean, I don't know what direction it felt like everybody had a different direction as far as carrying out their shit going on, but his first scene is actually probably my favorite scene out of the whole movie, where he makes a fellow vampire drink silver nitrate, and it's the same thing they make their bullets out of, but he poured it down this motherfucker's throat and just watched him burst into flames.
I vaguely remember that scene.
It was
it
had it had Reservoir Dog vibes. You know what I mean? He did everything except dancing up to him, pouring gasoline on him, kind of thing.
feel
You know
like
what I mean? It felt like he tried to channel that shit. I pretty much enjoyed that.
I guess it came out in 2021. My bad. So if you're really curious on what this movie is about, in the Wild West, the mysterious Death Rider enters a dangerous vampire sanctuary where the price of admission is one female virgin.
Yeah. I feel like that it kind of narrows it down. It seemed like Ryder was going there to seek refuge from the sun or some shit. But he definitely had a mission.
He had the
that Van Helsing kind of vibe going on.
He had the Van Helsing
There's that vampire on vampire hate shit going on.
Because wasn't he also a vampire?
Hell yeah.
Like, I want to say, like, he was freaking Blade.
Yeah,
Essentially, he was a white Blade.
Fucking Daywalker.
This movie, I expected a lot more, especially being out of Glenn Danzig's second main feature, or third.
Right.
But
and with all the fucking names that were in it, all of them. You had 3 sets of directors up in this bitch, and only one of them was new to this game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what was weird to me.
Yeah.
The Soska twins, and then you had Eli Roth, and then there's Glenn Danzig.
Yeah.
2 great names and one guy trying to get in the game, and it feels like it was all.
But that's the thing. Danzig
weird.
does what Danzig wants. You know, he doesn't care if it's a
That's
bad
true.
movie, if it's a good movie. He just wants to get his art out there.
He definitely looked like he had fun. It looked like I feel like his acting wasn't the worst out of the whole fucking movie.
It was very dry. With what I remember, it wasn't bad acting. It was just.
It's what you expected in a Western film, let alone a horror Western film.
I guess so. He knew. I feel like he knew what he was doing. That's with Devon Sawa. He's a very good actor. He's a very good actor, but he was not acting up. He was acting for this movie.
Yeah,
for
it doesn't.
role.
This is not a normal normal way for him to act in a movie, but it was still enjoyable. I say enjoyable because I definitely knew what I was getting into when I watched this one. Like, absolutely knew. But it wasn't that bad of a movie. It was one of those ones that I almost dreaded watching because the first time I watched a movie like this, I was like, all right, this is going to be grueling.
It's definitely possibly that one and done if you're into Westerns or Danzig. Because I don't feel like Danzig fans are a fan of this movie.
Fuck, no, probably not.
I really... I really doubt it.
Danzig fans.
So yeah, you have. I feel like there's always a couple of different styles of westerns, because like I said, you kind of have the ones that of the Curse of the Undead, where it feels like that Western TV show, basic kind of
that John Wayne kind of
that slow
big
pace
gunslinger kind of slow paced movie. Yeah.
And then I feel like you eventually kind of came out to these like the like Sundown, Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat, and that was from 1989. So it's an older movie that has Bruce Campbell in it. So I do actually recommend this movie. It has that slapstick, and Campbell has actually the whole Helsing character in this.
Oh shit!
But it's also Campbell acting like how he does.
I feel like I'm ashamed I haven't seen this one. It sounds like I should have seen it.
Yeah. So that one was directed by Anthony Hickox. But yeah, this one is definitely a must-watch. But this was more modern, and by modern I'm talking about 89. Right. So you had this group going into a town where the town is vampires, and they were just minding their own fucking business. They're drinking, I want to say, fake blood, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but they were just trying to mind their own business. It was a vampire's retreat. You know, they kind of wanted to stay out, but it was a Western feeling of outsiders trying to push these guys out, and then it's just a weird mix of things. But then you also have John Carpenter's Vampires that a lot of people hate this movie.
I liked it. I remember seeing at least part of it a long time ago. It's been a while, but it's not like I go out there and try to hunt it down every time I see it, but I enjoyed this shit. I mean,
that's the weird thing, because I'm curious if people hate it because of James Woods, because
I
think
feel
people
like
have that weird James Wood hate. But I also remember hearing people say that, oh, it was just very basic, very boring.
But motherfuckers love Near Dark. Like, no offense, I really enjoy Near Dark. Right? It's not a Western movie. It kind of has a modern day Western vibe, though.
That's another movie that has that modern day.
Yeah.
Like, where it is a Western. It's more of that Texan Western.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between Texan and like California.
But it's definitely, when we're talking about those kind of movies, it's almost plain in comparison. It's not like it was blood gushing horror or anything like that. It was not your typical horror movie at all. But people praise Near Dark. You try to find a copy of Near Dark right now, you're looking at paying $70 minimum for a Blu-ray copy of it. It's fucking ridiculous.
Find it as like $30, but those
still, it feels like it's weird that they love that and they don't love vampires, or at least enjoy it at the very least. I've watched worse movies. I love worse movies.
You know, it's not Death Rider. You got to compare the two. Is it Death Rider or Vampires? Like, which kind of bad is this?
This is James Woods bad.
But
I enjoy it still.
I feel like this is a movie that everyone needs to see.
He's still he's a little cheesy in it, if I remember correctly. But I didn't hate it. Like I said,
I think that's like one of the things that people hate is because Woods is acting in his own movie and everyone else is acting around him into this movie.
Right, yeah.
So I can see how people hate this movie. I understand how people could hate it because it is so messy at times, because you have that whole hotel murder weird scene, and then I think there's like probably almost like 5 up and downs in this movie, so it is such a mess.
Right.
But I want to say John Carpenter loved this movie at the time because he wanted to make a Western, and he never had the chance to make it because he was stuck into horror movies. But I think he even kind of loosely disowned this movie as well.
Damn.
It's
harsh.
John Carpenter has had a lot of good movies down the road, but also a lot of stinkers that people hate for no freaking reason.
It doesn't mean you should hate him too. Damn. But still.
It's like Ghost of Mars. People hated that movie, especially when it came out with Ice Cube.
Movie.
my point exactly.
But I didn't direct it, all right?
you have those movies that come out, and then what I actually think of westerns is I think of movies have to be like Bone Tomahawk.
Ah, I love it. That is probably my favorite western, like, of all time. And I was just praising Tombstone, but because of Tombstone, I love everything about this movie.
I think that helped make this movie run. So this movie came out in 2015, October 1st, 2015. So this is almost a Halloween movie. Directed by S. Craig Zahler. And it is, in the Old West, a sheriff, Kurt Russell, his deputy, Richard Jenkins, a gunslinger, Matthew Fox, and a cowboy, the gunslinger that is so insidious in the horror conjured up so much horror, Patrick Wilson.
Yes.
Embark on a mission to rescue 3 people from a savage group of cave dwellers. What they don't say about those 3 people is it is Patrick Wilson's wife.
Yes. Yeah, and Patrick Wilson is, like, the whole plot of this is you walk into the storyline and Patrick Wilson's character has a broken leg. So he has to have help from these other people. It is not a solo man's mission that gains more travelers with him to help come over these to be quite honest, troglodyte motherfuckers. I mean, the presentation it was the way horror movies reveal the monster. They did that shit perfect.
I want to see this in theaters.
Oh,
I want to see this in a big screen. Like,
dude,
this,
the sounds they made and shit like that, like
that
howling
scream.
It was like a death whistle, only something far more terrifying. And the way that they almost underpainted the characters until presentation time, and then they let the actions speak, and it was...
That's the thing. I probably would piss my pants before I died there.
Yeah,
that would be the thing. I would hear that
absolutely.
sound like, what the fuck, piss, and then dead.
Dead. Yeah, you would have no chance.
I would not have. There's 100% of a chance that I would not survive this.
So when did Terrifier come out? Because I feel like that there was an end scene in this where I'm like, whoo. Terrifier stood out, and this stood out the same reason. It was the kills in this movie that were just obscene.
So Terrifier came out in 2016, so just like a year after.
Okay, well, it feels like they were watching each other work, that's for sure.
And that's one of the things, like, this scene does not, it starts off heavy. Like, the very, very opening scene, you see someone roughly getting their throat slit open.
Roughly. Yeah, he was just plunging a knife in this fucker's throat and kind of hacking back and forth with it.
It's not like a movie that you see nowadays with, like, a clean slit, and then all of a sudden,
and
the best
part was the 2 people that opened that scene are huge names.
Yes.
David Arquette and Sid Haig were the opening motherfuckers in this, and
they're the ones that started this whole crime thing.
Drew me in instantly.
I wish Sid Haig, God rest his soul, lived longer, because I started watching this movie before Sid Haig, to be honest. And then I was like, all right, he's dead in the first 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, like,
spoiler.
Oh, great. But I'm not telling you why he died or what happened. Well, you could guess. We already kind of said it a little bit.
My reason for watching it was because it was another Western with, God, why do I keep forgetting everybody's fucking name? It was another Western with Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Because I think Kurt Russell does that same thing that Clint Eastwood would do for a Western film. He captures that time frame very well. The same reason I don't mind watching Western. Sam Elliott. Every time Sam Elliott's in a fucking Western film, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. And it's not just because that Mobius mustache, but it definitely helps. But yeah, his character was spot on. I mean,
Kurt Russell is like, I can't think of anything bad about this movie.
No,
like it is a little bit slow paced. I guess.
I feel like yeah.
I guess.
But every time it got slow paced, they had wit or drama thrown into the mix, and they let the actors do their fucking thing. They didn't have to have action the whole time. They had good dialogue, and it didn't just feel like filler. And it wasn't like Lord of the Rings, where it's like 6 fucking movies of just walking. Although that's pretty much what this fucking movie is a gimp and 3 guys on a horse. But it was good. It was a fun.
I have no idea how happy that made me with you saying that. With me not even leading you up to that one, you have no idea.
But yeah, they made some of the characters a bit painful to have to deal with, and then right when you're like, I can't take this asshole anymore, somebody pipes up and fucking calls that sumbitch out. It's perfect.
I don't have the writer here, but the writing is so well done because one of the things I always learned is you should write how Cheers was, or who the writer for Cheers. You know, everyone knows your name, because within the first 3 sentences of what they speak, you know that character. You know them by name. You know who they are, and go back and watch the first episode of Cheers. Like, honestly, go watch it. It is phenomenal. But with these guys, you know who they are, and you actually care about them. You know, like, you care about David Arquette dying. You care about Sid Haig. You care about these people before you even really get to know them, and then you fall in love with them.
Every scene had a great amount of build-up. Like, I wanted to see what was going to happen from this outcome.
I got a question. So this is kind of weird. I don't know if it's just me, but I get Patrick Wilson and Will Arnett mixed up.
Okay, I can kind of see why, but they are different actors altogether.
They are, so yeah, you have
because I couldn't imagine Will Arnett in The Conjuring.
That's the thing. So Patrick Wilson, if you actually look at his thing, he does movies. He does a lot of more horror genre type stuff. Especially lately, he does a lot of horror movies. But Will Arnett, he does a lot more voiceovers, a lot more comical, a lot more lighthearted stuff. But I don't know what it is. But I'll show you the picture of. So we have Will Arnett. I will post a picture right here.
I can see why you think
And I'm going to post another picture right next to us post another picture with Patrick Wilson right here. And I feel like once I actually probably see them when I edit this, I'll probably notice the difference. Like, oh yeah, but it's just that guy and that guy. Those are the same pictures.
It just feels like you'd have a whole fucking lineup of these people that have been in horror movies or first of all, I feel like all of them actually were in horror movies, except for that motherfucker. The only thing that Will Arnett has been in that's close to horror, he might have been in something else, but I'm brain farting on it, was Twisted Metal. And it's because he plays Sweet Tooth, the voice of Sweet Tooth. Yeah. So
I think he has one other movie where it is horror adjacent. I can't, again, brain fart, but yeah, he's not really, he's more lighthearted with being an asshole. I mean, he's Batman.
Yeah,
he played Batman in 3 movies. Come on.
No, but to be fair, I do love it when a comedian comes into horror movies. I feel like they nail it almost every fucking time. But yes, this one in the lineup, he would have been the odd one out. That's for damn sure.
But he could have done the role. I feel like he could have, but it's just. I just want to know that I'm not alone on this one. You know, that Patrick Wilson and Will Arnett are the same actual actors. They just want more money. Different personas, you know? It's like Prince, and then when he changed his name to a freaking logo.
It's just a symbol.
Arnett's a symbol, you know? One of the great things I do love about Westerns is, with it becoming such a genre and a subgenre, especially being horror, other countries did versions of ours. Like spaghetti westerns gotten really big in Italy, which helped inspire giallos. Also, a lot of them over in Japan start doing Japanese westerns, where they do their version of a western with a Japanese undertone.
Oh yeah.
To it and stuff. So Nick Cage also did this one Western American one that also has Bill Moseley in it as like the sheriff. And it's Prisoners of Ghostland.
Oh yeah, all right.
Of the Ghostland.
Yeah.
So I know that's just that's the biggest one I want to say that people have probably seen, or at least seen the cover of, that hasn't watched yet. But that's what I mean. American westerns are not really American anymore, which is really fucking great.
Oh yeah, I get that. I just feel like instead of going gung ho and completely remaking all these already old Western films. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Western remakes. Like what was it, True Grit? That remake was very good. I'm not ready to see a Tombstone remake, but I'd like to see more originals like Bone Tomahawk. Yeah. I felt like I was watching something fresh, even though there was a bunch of familiar faces in there. It wasn't the same bullshit. I mean, they had the part of horror that stuck out so much in this is because it was a timepiece. You had no electricity, or at least very little, and where they were wandering out, you had to have prep. And as soon as you ran out of time, all your preparations are gone, and you got nothing but a few bullets left. It made the anticipation of the whole movie great.
Yeah, and we didn't spoil it. Yeah, we talked about the monsters and
there's
not monsters, but these Native Americans.
Oh yeah, you know? If you have a sound system when you watch this movie, turn that shit up. Like it'll catch you off guard. Every time when these guys strike, it's terrifying. It sends chills down your spine, and you couldn't imagine being the guy with the gun.
Yeah, and,
Like even the guy with the gun misses. You know, it's perfect.
yeah. But we don't, like I said, we didn't ruin any of this movie
No,
talking about it.
absolutely
Like
not.
we spoiled almost all these other movies, but this one is a must-watch. Where
It's a whole experience, absolutely,
I feel like
especially for Western fans and splatter.
I
Western
think there
fans.
is an homage. I don't remember which movie came out first. Well, I know there's other movies that probably did it, but there is something they did in this movie that they did in Green Inferno. Do you remember?
Trying
Well,
to
I think it was like loosely. Maybe I might.
Did it
be
have anything to
misremembering.
do with the end scene?
It's loosely close to the end scene.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of blanking on the scene if I remember the.
Was it the
ending
head wound?
correctly. No, it was. So in Green Inferno, remember when they actually stuck that dead body full of weeds so everyone could get high? Did the whole thing with actually spiking something to get the other one off kilter? Which I mean, drugging the other ones isn't really the same, but I felt it felt very Green Inferno-ish for me.
It was clever. I feel like it was what is something that you can use against them, and it was really hard to entice anything to take action when there is a language barrier and oh man, I'm not going to give away this too much, but these motherfuckers have a brain issue because they're all incest. Like the troglodytes are fucking incest cannibalistic fucking monsters, man. And so they're not all there, but they have the same end goal. But yes, this presentation.
I don't know if they have a goal.
Oh, well, it seemed like
other than
mate, feed,
survive.
kill, repeat. Yeah, that's about it.
Which I guess that's all we do. We know we have to.
Right? That's simple.
And by we, no, I'm just kidding. It's a good bridge.
Can't have fans if you keep eating them, but if I was a cannibal, you know who I wouldn't eat?
Oh man, I only have one guess.
Fucking Bridget.
Fucking Bridget.
Fuck you, Bridget.